So a few weeks ago, we were helping somebody move out of their apartment, and while we were there, I spotted a giant pile of stuff in the corner and said, hey, what are you planning on doing with that? And they said, oh, it's just garbage or to be donated. And I said, could I take some of that home? And they said, I guess so. So I rummaged through it like the little rat that I am and found several treasures, stuffed my car, and brought them home and did nothing with them for 3 weeks, as I often do. But today, we are going to be taking one of those items, specifically this basic mirror, and transforming it into a magical mossy fantasy mirror. Now you might be thinking, Karen, this sounds like an awfully familiar project, and that's probably because this was a trend online like 3 years ago, so clearly I'm very up to date on things. But just because the trend is over doesn't mean I don't think the idea is still really cool, and I think it would fit really well in the space. So the plan for today, we have our, hello, you can see yourselves. We have our very basic mirror here. This mirror is probably the most basic one you could find. It's got a plain, flat white frame. It is a long rectangular shape. Those are its features. So the plan for today is to take the top half of this mirror, add a bunch of detailing to it to make it look more ornate, and also paint it up to make it look like an aged bronze or brass color. And then on the bottom half, we're gonna add a bunch of moss, a la the moss mirror trend of ye olden times, to make it look like a whimsical, like forest fairy garden type thing. I wanna add some glowing mushrooms, maybe a little like fairy house, maybe use some clay to sculpt some little guys that can live there. I don't know, we're gonna kind of wing it and see what happens, but the plan is take this boring mirror and make it so freaking whimsical. Alrighty, so this mirror is now covered and protected, and we can start on actually adding the decoration to it. The first one being, I'm gonna add a wood applique to the top of this mirror just to add some ornate detailing. You can buy these at the craft store, you can buy these at the hardware store, you can get them on Amazon. They really are everywhere. So I'm just gonna glue this to the top. The second thing I'm gonna do is use a bunch of hot glue to make raised detailing along the edge of this. If you know of the Anthropologie Primrose mirror, a lot of people did DIYs like this where they used hot glue to make dots around the edges so that they could then spray paint it all gold and make a really convincing dupe of that mirror. That's kind of my plan for this, is to add those dots to the edge of this and hopefully give it that detailed, raised look. So I'm gonna unwrap this, glue it down, and go from there. The hot glue is drying on the mirror. I want to make sure it's nice and solid before I go in and paint anything because I don't want to disturb any of the little details I've made. If you've been around before, you've seen me do this a bunch. Basically, I'm going to mix a bunch of Mod Podge and black paint together so I can have a good base layer. It's a kind of 2-in-1 solution. One, it seals everything in, makes a nice matte surface for everything to stick to. And two, it also makes it black because I want the base layer of this paint job to be black. So, Mod Podge, paint, mixed, and then applied to the mirror. Mixed carefully. As you can see in these clips, the first coat was very patchy, and from here I knew it was going to need a lot of coats to get full coverage. But even worse than that, the hot glue did not want to get covered at all. So this meant that I did need to do 5 coats on this frame to get full coverage on those areas, but sometimes that's how it goes. It has been several hours and several coats of black paint and Mod Podge, but I finally have full coverage on this mirror. So my next step to making this patina look real, I have a bottle of watered down paint, literally called patina, and it's watered down. It's probably like 4 parts water to 1 part paint. And all I'm gonna do is spray this so that we get a light coverage of blue. I'm gonna try to build this up in layers, hopefully, because I want this to look like bronze or like brass that's been like tarnished over the years, and that often gets that like light blue kind of coloring to it. We're gonna layer up this blue color over the dark, and then we'll brush the metallic over top. And if this sucks, I'm trying to tell myself I'm just gonna paint over it, so. Okay, and we're just gonna do that a couple more times to hopefully build up the color a little bit gradually and patchy in layers. I don't know. I got this method from Van Oak Props. They make incredible like Halloween pieces. If you have never seen them before, I highly recommend it. And I'm now realizing that Mod Podge is water-based, so hopefully that isn't a problem here.
I ended up doing 3 light coats, allowing it to fully dry in between each one. After that, I took a brown metallic paint and dry brushed all over it to really finish the effect. I ended my night by peeling up all the tape off the mirror.
It is the next day. I have a mirror and some thoughts. Number 1, I'm really happy with how this patina technique has turned out. It's really hard to explain, but it really does give that look of like old weathered metal, which I was going for. I do have a problem with it though, and that was, I kind of thought this might happen because I couldn't take the mirror out of the frame. And with mirrors, if you have like the back of your frame exposed, you're gonna see whatever's behind it. And because this is a white frame, you can really clearly see in some of the edges where there's no paint. So, my plan for this, and it's kind of becoming a theme on my channel, I fear, is if there's a problem that you can't solve, hide it with trim. So what I'm gonna do is I have some leftover trim from other projects. I'm just gonna paint this up to look the same kind of patinaed color, so do the black, the green, blue color, and then brushing all the metallics over it again. And we're gonna glue it in, and that's gonna hide that edge of white that I just cannot get rid of because of how this mirror is constructed. Another thing I've realized, yesterday when I started making this decorative part, I did a little oopsie and I realized that I actually put all of this stuff on what is the bottom of the mirror. It's not a big deal. I can just move where the little like hanging hardware is off of the back. It's just a little bit annoying and a little bit stupid that I did that. Pro tip, always check the way your mirror hangs before you start working on it.
If you do a lot of trim work like I do, I highly recommend these trim snips. They make detail work like this so quick. While we watch me paint all this trim, I wanted to shout out all of my subscribers. While we were filming this video, we did in fact hit 200, which is a huge milestone. If you want to join us on this journey, hit that subscribe button to see more fantasy flavored videos every week. Now returning back to the project, a little hot glue is all it takes to get this trim fixed into place, and the frame is now done. While I was making over the top of the mirror, I also was working on some little details to add to the mossy side. First, I made some little forest spirits out of oven-baked clay. They kind of look like creepy rocks, but they are also adorable. I used some popsicle sticks to make little platforms because I thought it would be easier to affix them to the mirror this way. Next, they needed a little house, so using a box I saved from the garbage, I made this round hut. I placed each shingle individually on the roof and added stones to the bottom as well. It then got a simple paint job, starting with a black base coat and then various dry brushing to add all the color.
The top half of this mirror is done. Easy, sorted. The bottom half is now where we focus all of our attention. So, I haven't done any painting here aside from black, just to give us a good base coat. And what my plan is now is to take our little house that we've made, as well as a bunch of fairy lights, and glue them into place before I do any of the moss work. Basically, the moss is the last step to kind of hide all of our hot glue edges. So I want to add our little house. I want to add some fairy lights because they're going to become mushrooms. I also want to add our little platforms that the little guys are going to go onto. So I'm just going to start by gluing things on, and we're just going to kind of feel this out.
The glowing mushrooms are actually super simple. You take cheap fairy lights and bend them so that a single light is sticking up from the mirror, and then you drip a bunch of hot glue down the wire. As it cools, it'll become a super realistic stem shape all on its own with the help of gravity. The caps are made out of discs of hot glue on parchment paper, and then they're peeled up and glued onto the top of each of the glowing stems. To finish off the mirror, it took a bunch more hot glue and a lot of moss to cover the exposed black paint and all of the hot glue that's at the base of all the mushrooms. With a final shake to remove any loose moss, this mirror is finally done.
Look at it! It's so cool! I did have to move a few things around on this wall because there actually is not a lot of floor space in this room with my table in it. So there's only really one spot it could go where I would actually be able to walk and see myself full length in the full length mirror. So it lives here now. Maps got moved over there a little bit, but look at it! So beautiful! There is the slight con of it is a mirror, so you now have a much better vantage point on the absolute disaster that is the rest of my room, depending on the angle I'm filming this from. So that's something that future me is gonna have to deal with a little bit. But I digress. Look at this thing! It turned out so good! The little mushrooms worked so well, and the glowing effect is so good. I have left it on a few times at night, just with like all the lights off in the room and the mushrooms on, and it's like, chef's kiss, amazing. The moss is very forgiving as a material. It was super messy. It got everywhere and took a hot minute to clean up, but it filled in all the gaps really well. It was super easy to hot glue down, and it just looks so good when it's on there. My husband does hate the little guys on them. He says they're very creepy. I happen to think they're adorable, and they're not going anywhere. And their little hut with a little light inside the house looks so, so good when it's all lit up. Everything about this is just magical. I'm really glad I went with like a brass patina instead of a bright, bright gold. So much of the stuff in this room is already looking like more neutrals, less shiny, more antiques, and I think if I did a bright gold finish, it would just stand out too much. So this is like the perfect happy medium of metallic, but also tarnished. If you enjoyed watching this week's video and want to see more content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this project. And I just wanted to say thank you again for 200 subscribers. I've had a lot of fun making these videos and I don't intend to stop anytime soon, so be prepared, you're stuck with me. And with that, I'll see you guys next week.